Hi, I'm Dave Ulrich. I'm one of the three co-authors of the book Leadership Code. We appreciate your time in listening to these ideas and hope they're as helpful to you as they have been to us. We begin the discussion of Leadership Code with a very simple question. What makes an effective leader? What a great question. We have to confess, we're not the first person to ask that question. In fact, when we got on Google and we Googled the term leader and leadership, we got 20 to 30 million hits. We're way down the line in asking that question. So we decided to do something a little different. Instead of coming up with a whole new theory of leadership, we wanted to look at what was out there and find out, are there some major common themes that we can synthesize and integrate that describes and answers the question, what makes an effective leader? So we used a methodology that was really, really simple. We went to about 15 or 20 people who are, we think, the thought leaders in leadership. These are folks who've written 4 or 5 books each. They've done Leadership 360s for 15 to 20 years. They're people you would probably know. I won't list them all for the embarrassment of missing some that we went to. But these are the best we know. We asked them how many 360s they've done in their careers. The sum of that was over 2 million. Then we asked them 2 questions. Question 1, what % of successful leadership in your experience is basically the same stuff? All leaders everywhere, top to bottom, big companies, small companies, publicly traded, privately held, global, domestic, what are the central core things that every leader everywhere must be able to know and do? When we asked the % of what that should be, what we found was a fascinating response. It ranged from 50 to 85%. Some said 50% is unique. Some said 15% is unique. Some said 50% is the same. Some said 85% is the same. Our take is 60 to 70%. 60 to 70% of what any leader anywhere has to know and do is the same basic stuff. Question 2, what is it? And these time our thought leader colleagues recommended their books. So we looked at their books. We looked at competency models from other firms. We combed the literature and we tried to say, what makes an effective leader? What is that core common set of stuff that every leader everywhere has got to do? We called that the leadership code. The code is the basics, the code book, the absolute core of what leadership is about. As we did that research, we found there were 5 things. If you think 4 corners of a sheet of paper and then a middle circle, one corner of the sheet of paper is a leader has to be a strategist. If you want to be an effective leader, you have to have a point of view about where your unit is going. At the top of the company, that's the whole enterprise. In a functional unit, it's your function. In a team, in an organization, it's your team. But you have to have a position about where you want your organization to go as you go forward. Second is you have to be an executor. You have to be somebody who's able to get work done, who has accountability, discipline, and the ability to execute and make sure that things are done and done well. On the other corner of the sheet of paper is you have to be a talent manager. Leaders, by definition, work with people. They engage them, they connect with them, they work with them, they communicate with them, and they help people feel like they're part of a good team. At the top corner of the circle, the 4th piece, is you have to be a human capital developer. You have to be somebody who builds the next generation in the organization. You have to be able to map the workforce, create a firm brand, and figure out what the talent is that needs to be there in the future. 4 roles of leadership: strategist, where are we going? Executor, how do we get there? Talent manager, who goes with us? And human capital developer, who stays when we're gone. What we discovered is most leaders are predisposed to one of those 4. Most leaders kind of have a natural act. I like being a strategist and figuring out the future. I like being a talent manager and working with other people. I like being an executor and getting things done. But then what we discovered in the middle is that there's a core factor that every leader has to master. We call that personal proficiency. It's not a role, it's a set of personal competencies that allow you to be trusted by those you lead. Personal proficiency deals with insights about yourself, with your ability to know yourself, to learn, to have integrity, to have emotional intelligence, to exercise good judgment. That's it. We think there's a code book of leadership. A strategist, an executor, a talent manager, a human capital developer, and personal proficiency that allows you to connect with others. That's this book. It's actually a very simple book. If you want to be an effective leader, here's what you must know and what you must do. And you look at where your strengths are. And so as we drafted this book and we looked at this massive leadership work, we begin to identify 4, 5, or 6 things in each of those areas that will help you be a more effective leader. Now, one of the things that we think is always helpful is looking at the leadership mirror. How do I rank? How do I rate? So we've got a survey online. On that survey, you can score yourself and do a self-assessment. And even better, you can begin to get data from others. How do others see me as a strategist, an executor, a human capital developer, or a talent manager? And based on that information, I can begin to make changes and improve my leadership. The purpose of this book is very simple. If you want to be a more effective leader, this is what it takes. By the way, this is the basics. It's not the whole game, but it's the basics that you must do to lead effectively. And we will help you make that happen.